to know that this webinar is going to be recorded. The recording started just now, so whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we write in the chat is going to be recorded, and you will receive a link to the record of the webinar just within today and tomorrow. The materials is going to be uploaded in the Development Cooperation page, and you will also have the email and the content of the two experts so that you can communicate with them if you like to. Okay. Other questions? Any doubt? No, all clear. Good. Now, I said I'm going to share the screen. I'm checking the PowerPoint prepared by our colleagues, the two experts of today. Okay, with that, I'm going to give the floor to Liliana. Liliana, if you want to introduce yourself and if you like to take over, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you very much, Alice, for attending the third webinar of today. My name, as Monica was saying, is Liliana Rosels, and my work at the Partnership and Field Support Department, supporting the cooperation with on TV with the European Commission since last year, and in parallel also cover cooperation with the World Bank. I'll pass it over to Audrey, that is going to give you the first overview and the different strategic lines in which we collaborate with the European Commission.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Liliana. So I'm Audrey Legueval, I work in ILO Brussels. So the idea really of this webinar is to give you concrete information to facilitate your contact with the EU delegation, well, the EC in general, but mostly with the delegation at the council level. So in general, we see that for the moment there are a lot of good opportunities for the ILO in cooperating with the EU. It's going to be difficult to really phrase the cooperation. I mean, really in general, the EU has recognized the SDG agenda and they've committed to it. So this is a common framework on which we can already dialogue with the Commission as they are step by step integrating that into their programming. Then I was about to say it's difficult to really see common areas of work between the two regions that this webinar is covering, because the situation of Europe and Latin America and Central America are different for me to be able to say that there are common priorities or common objectives where I could do it for the other regions. So I would just say that the cooperation with the two regions is long-standing, and that the objective is for Europe, the EU key, and further integration of Europe, not necessarily integration within the EU, but integration in recognition of the principle on which the EU was built. And for Latin America, it's more carrying on the cooperation and trying to have a concrete program on promotion of human rights, fostering development of SMEs, and specific to each of the countries, depending on the country context. So, in terms of the overview of the relationship, if we go to next slide, thank you. It all started in 2001 with an exchange of letters. The exchange letter was a broad document from both institutions indicating their commitment to work together. In 2003, the ILO joined the EC-UN Financial and Administrative Framework Agreement, which is basically rules and regulations that have to be followed when working with the EC. This is a good step for the ILO, as by having this framework, it facilitated the negotiation of all agreements, and thereby there has been more agreements signed after the signature of the FAFSA. The FAFSA is still in vigor. What can change, and Liliana will explain further that later, is the rules and regulations that are underneath it. In 2004 was a strategic partnership framework established between the two institutions. So this was on the basis of the exchange of letter, a further identification of the priorities on which both institutions would be working. And this was renewed in 2011 as we felt that there was a need for an update. So this basically is the framework on which we are cooperating. If we take the right part of the slide, the right part indicates the overall documents, policy documents that DEC has elaborated and which are shaping its development cooperation. The European Commission works with multi-annual cycles, which are 7 years. So for the moment, we are in the one of 2014-2020, and at the beginning of this cycle, the DEC issued the Agenda for Change, which is basic document shaping the EU development policy for 7 years to come. So in comparison to the previous document, the Commission wanted to differentiate its development cooperation, changing a little bit the principle on which aid was delivered. So the first indication was that they would give from on more money to the countries most in need. Second principle was concentration, that they would focus on 3 sectors per country and not more than that. Third one was further coordination with the EU member states so that they would align somehow their development. On this, much more can be done, but this is at least an objective, a stated objective. And coherence so that one program would not, the impact or the results of one program would not harm the objective of another one. So this is the overall framework. Last year, in response to the adoption of the SDG, the European Commission published the new consensus for development, which is the common vision of the EU and the member states in integrating the SDGs. So this is a very important document also, as this is one framework, and we have to look at the way the EC intends to deliver on it. In terms of more specific thematic programming, you can see at the bottom of the slide that the EC issues very precise communication. There was one on social protection, one on human rights, last year one on trade. Those really indicate what the EC intends to do on very specific issues. The one towards job-rich recovery was internal to the EU, so of less interest for you, but this is just to show you there are clear indication of all policies that the EC wishes to implement in terms of technical cooperation, and all that is accessible online and can be found, so it's easy to know what the EC has as priorities. Compared to other donors, it's very transparent. All these documents and the way the cooperation is shaped translate into an annual high-level meeting, which is a meeting at which both institutions define their priorities for the year to come, and they look at the way they have implemented their priorities the past year. So the last one took January, and the conclusions are available and can represent interesting entry points for you in discussing with the EU or with the delegation. I invite you to have a look at these conclusions. Yes, let's go to next slide. So in terms of with whom are we talking to, we have many different counterparts in the Commission. In fact, the Commission at the end of the day is organized a little bit like any state, with ministries that they call Directorate Generals looking at different issues. So there is one on trade, one on environment, one on employment, which is the main entry point for the ILO, one on migration and home affairs. In terms of technical cooperation, on the top right, I'm not sure you can see, but there is a box which says External Action Service. So this is the equivalent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They shape the policy and define exactly what needs to be done in terms of big orientation. And the implementing arm is DG EFCO, the International Cooperation and Development DG of the Commission. There's also DG here that you can see, which is looking at the neighborhood countries and the enlargement countries. So a very important entry point also for the colleague from Europe. in red, the one in orange are the one we are working with. The one in green, sorry, we wish we could be working closer with them. We are not yet exactly working with them. So these are on to-do list, let's say. And if you have ideas on how to better interact with DG ECHO, for example, for crisis countries, or DG GROW on fostering development of SMEs, please be in touch. The one in blue are not of interest to the ILO because they're out of our scope or just our internal management EU, the internal management, sorry. Next slide.
A second.
Yeah, sure.
Does it get stuck? Okay.
So, yeah, this is a list of the thematic areas that have been defined for cooperation. This is not an exclusive list, and this is not an indication that we should not work on anything else, but this is a clear, these are issues on which there is a clear agreement between both institutions that will be working on these ones. So the one in red has been added this year through the last high-level meeting. So there is a clear engagement from the EU and the ILO to work closer on social protection, on decent working global supply chain following the ILC discussion, to add the dimension of the refugee crisis to the migration agenda, and maritime and fishing because there are high needs on that as well, and it was recognized. So this will be the issue we'll be working on mostly for the year to come. Leave it to you, to Liliane for the moment.
Before we move ahead with Liliana, are there any questions for Audrey? Is that all clear? This introduction was kind of satisfactory for everyone, or do you still have doubts about how this relationship with the EU is managed? Okay, so Liliana, it's up to you. You have already introduced yourself briefly. Do you want to go ahead with the document and programming?
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll have a quick overview to the different funding instruments available for the European Commission. If we can go to the next slide, please. To give you a bit of an overview, the European Commission is working with around 150 countries, as Audrey was mentioning, to individual goals to eradicate poverty, the inclusion of human rights, promotion of democracy and gender, and other issues such as climate change. What is important to have in mind within these different financial instruments is that there are internal and some other external financial instruments. This means that the geographic coverage or the priorities or the access modalities will vary pretty much between one and the other. And the entry point for some of them would be more at the EU engagement level, or in collaboration with Brussels, or more based at the Brussels level, and some others through member states. But what is most important to keep in mind also is that interaction at both levels is very important, and there is a strong policy of the concentration of funding from the European Commission, and 70% of the funds lie at the country level. There's importance to have a strong connection also with the European delegations at the country level. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So among the external instruments, we have those that have a geographic focus, meaning that they are specific for a region or a country, and those that are thematic focus, meaning that they are addressing challenges of global importance, such as human rights or stability and conflict prevention or other global issues. And they are not limited to a specific country or region. Within geographical instruments, I think it's important to mention for colleagues in the Europe region, and you're probably pretty familiar with them, we can find the IPA, Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance, that is in several for countries in the Europe region, such as Albania, Serbia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Macedonia, or Turkey. And it aims reforming, promoting the reform of strategies to the membership of these countries, and it has a strong emphasis on the rule of law, social economic development, and competitiveness. It's probably also worth to mention that this instrument is mainly accessible at the EU delegation level, so a strong collaboration with the EU delegations is important to take into account, and through the countries that are implementing EU funds. Other instruments that are relevant for colleagues in the Europe region are the European Neighbourhood Instrument, that is covering, among others, countries such as Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. And also, collaboration with the EU delegations is important to access to this type of funds, but also, but the European Commission also issues calls for proposals for under the type of funding instrument. More relevant for colleagues in Latin America would be the European Development Fund that is covering the Caribbean, among others, and which fund programming is coordinated with the ACP Secretariat in Brussels, and also the Development Cooperation Instrument that is targeting all non-ACP, non-IPA, non-neighborhood countries, and covers, for instance, regional groups such as Mercosur or the and South America. The fund for this type of instrument is also in a strong relation with the delegations, but also through call for proposals. Just to mention that we will be posting a guide note that provides linkages to different websites in which call for proposals are made available, and that are very useful to keep monitoring at the country level. The thematic instruments, the European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights is a key instrument for the ILO. It can cover actions in any third country from Europe, and it aims globally at providing protection for human rights and promoting civil societies and protecting vulnerable groups such as minorities, women, LGBT, and indigenous people. Just for info, we just recently started a project aiming at improving indigenous people's access to justice and development that covers, among other countries, Bolivia, Colombia, and Peru. And as an example, we also had a project funded through this type of funding in Myanmar, looking at the promotion of fundamental principles and rights at work. Access to this type of funding is more in Brussels level. Call for proposals are also issued for this type of instrument, and collaboration at the national level is also key. Another that can be important for us in the region is contributing to stability and peace, to respond, as Audrey was mentioning, one of the key issues currently to respond to crisis and create safe environment. It can be both at the EC, Brussels level, and also with European delegations. Finally, one that I wanted to mention within the external instruments is the partnership instrument, because this covers middle-income countries, which is very relevant for colleagues in the Latin American region. For instance, the European Commission has been supporting actions under the climate change agenda in Mexico and in Brazil. If we can go to the next slide, please. The one before that. So the instruments are be very relevant for colleagues in the Europe region. These are covered different thematic areas and mainly based at with European member states. And the funding for most of these instruments is based at the country level in collaboration with Brussels, and for those under the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, there are also calls for proposals that are issued every now and then. And if we move to the next one, please. So these are some EU trust funds that are relevant these days. Some of them all of them are focusing in Africa. I think it's important to mention that under the EU trust funds, also work actions at the level have been funded by the EU trust funds. And I'll give the word back to Office for programming.
Yes. Thanks, Liana. I should check if there are questions. Are there any questions for Liana? Okay, so let's go ahead. Maybe questions will come at the end.
So we'll go to the programming now. The idea of informing you about the EU programming is just for you to better understand really how they shape the programming at the field level. It's not for you to become an EC expert. It's for you to know exactly the stages that are necessary for them to come up with a proposal. And if you understand that, it enables you to understand where are the exact entry points for the ILO. As we were saying, maybe we can go to the slide. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. As we were saying, the EC works with multi-annual cycles of 7 years. So the cycle is divided in two, one of 4 years, one of 3 years. And right at the middle, there is a midterm evaluation. So for the moment, we are entering into the evaluation period. It has started, in fact, for the IPA and neighborhood instruments. So maybe the colleagues have been already consulted. I know that Antonio was involved or consulted into that for Europe. For Latin America, Caribbean, Central America, I don't know if the process has started yet, but I'm mentioning it because it's a good it's a strategic moment for entering into contact with the EC, because if they've been working with other partners in the past, they may want, for whatever reason, to diversify their partnership, or they haven't done certain things and they may want to initiate new programs. So it's a good moment to initiate the dialogue and to propose what the ILO can deliver. When the financing regulation for the instrument is being published, it is then translated into national indicative programs. So really, from the overall objectives, shaping what needs to be done at the country level. And this is also for the 7-year periods, but it's then translated into annual action program, which define what needs to be done in a given year. The programming is done, if we carry on the next slide, it's done in two different ways, the thematic and the geographic. The geographic instruments are either national ones, so focusing on one country, or regional. There again, it's a cycle of 7 years, broken down in two, and most of the time, if it is at the country level, it's focusing on 3 main priorities, the 3 priorities defined with the country, the state of the country. If it's the regional programming, the programming is done more at the Brussels level, because it needs the collection of the priorities from different countries. So here I invite you to get in touch with Liana, but also with I from Brussels, so that we can see what can be done at the regional level. Instrument, the programming is a little bit the same, 7-year framework, and then divided into 2 periods with a midterm evaluation. This was, I think, the slide that was to come.
Yes, it got blocked.
It got stuck, but it's pretty much the same. So I mean,
this is the connection. Okay, this was the last one, and then I go
exactly.
ahead. Okay.
So the thematic, yeah, and again for the thematic, it's done at the Brussels level. So now if we go into the annual programming, so the DEC has a global program with several objectives, and then it needs to really define what are the concrete projects that will need to be implemented to achieve this bigger aims. So at the beginning, there is the initiative programs, and for example, DEC will decide that they need to work on women economic empowerment. So it's the phase of identification. During the identification phase, they will think, okay, we know that partners who can work on that are UN Women, maybe ILO, if we're lucky, if they think about us and they call us. If they don't think about us, it's good to know that they are having this reflection that we can maybe try to discuss what the ILO can offer in terms of women economic empowerment. After the identification comes the time of the formulation. So the EC will draft a note which will be sent to the college saying we've met with UN Women and with ILO. We believe those two partners are the best ones to work on women economic empowerment, and we would like your blessing for working with them. If the college agrees, this translates into a financing decision, which means that the EC agrees to put money to this action. And once the money decision is taken, then it goes back to the country level, or if it's at the country level, or back to the services in Brussels, and then starts the elaboration of an action fiche, which either elaborated by delegations or by DEC itself, or in consultations also with the ILO. And I have to say that even if it's labor intensive, drafting the action fiche with DEC is the best way to make sure that we can agree to the deliverables after and to the management mode. So I really invite you to get in touch with DEC and to propose it if there is an opportunity. So all this cycle is an annual cycle, and they will do that for each intervention they're planning. The idea here is really to be able for you to know where they stand on this cycle, and when you contact them, for example, if they say we're drafting the action fiche, basically they're telling you that it's too late. But if you come at the identification stage, then there is a possibility for you to input and maybe to be selected. So the earlier you get in touch with the EC, the earlier you get into policy dialogue with them so that they know what you can offer, the better it is. And it's over to you, Liliana.
About programming and the program cycle before into the mobilizing perspective. No? Okay, Anna, please, can you explain us how we mobilize EU resources and how does it work?
Great, thank you, Mani. So taking in account the different funding instruments and also the programming, we thought it could be useful to put together a slide that provides a summary on where the ILO can start being relevant for the European Commission. Mobilizing resources, it happens at different stages, and it's important for the ILO to depending on where the EC is in terms of programming, to either be relevant so that we can be taken into account in the beginning of the programming cycle, to provide inputs, data, statistics, knowledge sharing on programs and strategies to find synergies and alignments, but also then if I collaborating, demonstrating with the EC and demonstrate that we can have added value to the programs that are going to be implemented by the European Commission. Throughout the programming cycle, the ILO can influence also in the modalities that will be applied for the partners. We go to the next slide, please. And would just before, and as I was mentioning also before, then these funds can be accessed either through the EU delegations at the country level, through the European Commission in Brussels, but also through the national member states from the European Union. And if we can go to the next. And what is important to keep in mind is that financial opportunities, if mobilized through the EU delegations or the European Commission, it's the Financial Administrative Framework Agreement that was mentioned previously, the one that will apply. If the funding is received through the authorities of a member state, it's also the EU procedures that apply. But in either case, please keep us both or myself in the loop so that we can find the suitable funding arrangement for collaboration. If we can go to the next one, please. In terms of management modalities, the European Commission has implements direct, indirect, or shared management. Direct management basically means that the EU budget is implemented. The EU carries on the budget implementation, and all the tasks are performed directly by its departments at Brussels or the respective EU delegation implementing the project or other European executive agencies that are created specifically for a program. In terms of indirect management, this means that the European Commission can entrust part of this budget to other implementing agencies, such as or partner countries. Can also include European development agencies, which is an increasing trend, and international organizations such as the UN. Shared management is when the EU delegates the task to an EU member state. And we can go to the next one. See here that depending on the implementation mode, the management mode, different contractual arrangements will apply. For those in which the action involves the entrustment of tasks, meaning service contracts, implementation agreements, or grants, the delegation agreement, the type of delegation agreement will apply. For those for which the ILO will be implementing with its own staff the action, this is mainly for activities such as studies or technical or direct technical assistance, then it's the grant agreement, the one that will apply. And for call for proposals, we will also be applying the grant agreement model. The notes, we are currently using the second generation of the Pillar Access Grant or Delegation Agreement. This has been adopted in June last year. And probably the novelty within others to mention here is that this new template agreement also includes the co-delegation possibility for which, let's say, two UN agencies, or if a UN agency wants to implement a project with another European Development Agency, they can do it as co-delegated. Go to the next one, please. There are several other novelties, important for colleagues especially that are currently working with the Pagoda 1. Pagoda 2 is provides more facilities in terms of contractual arrangements, design, and also financial matters. If we can go to the next one, please. And just a few recommendations. Overall, I think it's what we think that is important to work in building a good relation with the EU delegations on the ground. This is important not only to get to have a sense of where the issue is in terms of planning, or which are the priorities that the delegates have identified with the partner countries. So it also helps to identify if there are funding available for different types of actions. So it's very important also to have a good sense through this dialogue with the EU delegations on the stage in which the programming is for the European Commission. For cases, please keep us, Audrey and myself, informed. We'll be happy to collaborate with you to identify opportunities. just some figures that we wanted to show to you for you to have the sense more or less of where we're standing in terms of funding trends with the European Commission. It was last year the biggest donor for the ILO Development Cooperation. If we go to the next one, please. In general, the European Commission is the largest development cooperation funding entity, with over 3.8 billion euros provided for development cooperation, out of which 1.4 goes to the UN in general. And we can go to the next one. This slide is just to give you a sense of which are these main partners within the UN. You see that the ILO, although we are a relevant partner at a policy level, we are still small in terms of funding. Our statistics only for the funding the ILO actually show here just under UN other, while some other larger partners in terms of funding. Okay, and with that, I hope we gave you a broad overview of different areas of collaboration and ideas to further foster this cooperation with the Commission.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Liliana, for being clear and cover the topic in such a short time. It's still a complex topic. I would like to know if there is a need for clarification, if there are questions. We haven't received any question, and this group is particularly silent, so just want to know if there is anything you want to know more. We have quite a big group now. I can see many people joined.
Monica, I have a question.
Yes.
It's Ariel.
Hi, Ariel. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So my question is, I think I understand here for Caribbean region. So there is a regional indicative program for the period 2014-2020, and there are certain priorities. But this an agreement signed the European Commission and CARICOM with the Secretary General of CARICOM. So my question is, are there other ways of getting financing support for development beyond this agreement, or the other way around? If we want to get funds from the European Commission for the Caribbean region, we always have to go through the CARICOM because it's a program that is being signed between them.
Just a question, Ariel, where are you based?
Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Audrey or Liliana, who wants to go for this question?
I can go if you want. Well, this is an overall framework, and I mean, the best thing is to get in touch with the delegation at country level to have a clear indication on the priorities they are focusing on. The issue for the Caribbean region is that most of the country have graduated, so no longer eligible for development funding. So the most important instrument that will apply for you is the partnership instrument. The PI is not about development cooperation. It's a specific instrument handled by the External Action Service, which is dedicated to promoting EU interests in the world. This is a strict jacket and not necessarily one where the ILO feels the more at ease, because frankly this is an instrument which in certain cases will not enable us to fulfill our own agenda. But this is nevertheless a good agenda for all that is to do with SMEs, with CSR issue, with trade-related agenda, and so on. For developmental issues, I have to say that less and less DEC will look at it. And for the region, frankly, what they are looking at is human rights, promotion for labor standards, and trade. But this is a very broad answer to your question, Ariel. So I don't know if you have some precision you would like to bring.
No, thank you. Just I mean, I have in front of my eyes this program now, and it said that for the year 2014-2020, an amount of 346 million is foreseen, the allocation. So this is, I understand that this is the amount of money that for this period will be allocated from the European Commission to CARICOM and the framework of the EDF.
Money will not be directly allocated to the CARICOM. In certain cases, the CARICOM will receive parts of it. They will be a major recipient in terms of building their capacities and so on. But the DEC will not only work through the CARICOM, especially as in the recent years they have seen that the possibilities for them to implement via CARICOM is not necessarily the best way. So they're trying to extend also their partnership with other potential partners. Not forgetting CARICOM because it's a must, but also diversifying so that they can have a better impact.
Okay.
Get funds directly as well.
Thank you. We'll go through this PI partnership instrument.
Instrument, ACP instruments are the major ones, and then thematic ones also in certain cases, so human rights and so on. I know, sorry, because this was covered by Liliana. So Liliana, sorry, if you want to bring information on that as well.
Liliana, do you have anything to add? No, she didn't ask. Liliana? I'm not connected anymore. Maybe we lost her. Are there any other questions for Audrey? No, she's there. Liliana. Do you have anything to add to the answer that Audrey gave?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, just to reinforce what Audrey was mentioning, that indeed the collaborations with the ACP is key for the region. And we can always explore with colleagues also together if there are any calls for proposals relevant for the region for the type of action they are trying to look funding for.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question from the other participants? I can see now that we have a big group of 18 people. So wondering if there is anyone else who has a question for Audrey and Liliana.
Hey, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes.
Where are you based, Ali?
I'm sorry, maybe
In
the connection is not good, but I hope.
We hear you. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you for organizing this important webinar, and thanks to Audrey and Liliana. My question is regarding with how ILO is lucky to apply for that funding instruments in the same country for the same time.
Each time DEC issues a call for proposal, in the guidelines of the call for proposal, there will be concrete indications of how many proposals can be received. And the call for proposal, normally there is one per year per instrument, so there is no possibility to submit to conflict. And at the end, you can, if you feel that the ILO is pertinent on several instruments, you should be free to submit on several instruments. Then personal recommendation would be to submit when we are very, very strong and sure that we can, with necessary partner, be the strongest proposer, rather than to try and shoot at all possible birds. But that's a recommendation. But of course, you can submit as many times as you can see opportunities arise.
Thanks. Anyone else?
A second question, if I may.
I please.
Just wanted to ask, in the past there was some sort of agreement between this program SOCIO and SOCPRO. So I don't know if this, I think SOCPRO, and I couldn't get any answer. That's why I'm asking here. Is there any sort of MOU or agreement that it's in place and operational in terms of SOCIO?
DEC is very keen in ILO using better SOCIOs for colleagues. SOCIO is a facility that DEC has put at disposal for concrete access to expertise on very concrete issues. So in fact, they have experts that can be called on for specific targets and for specific projects, and really see for the moment is struggling because at the end of the day, SOCIO is not being used enough. So if there is a wish from the ILO to use this facility a little bit more, sure, please do it, and I'll be happy to facilitate contacts with colleagues in SOCIO and in other interested parties in the Commission. From social protection, I cannot speak for them. I don't know where they stand on that, and I don't know if they use the facility or that. Sorry.
Thank you. And if I remember well, that in the past it was only the government, let's say in that way, that had a right to request support from SOCIO. The ILO going to SOCIO. So we could give assistance to the, for example, Social Security funds, and they can put the request to SOCIO. Is this still the case, or we have some sort of specific door in which we can knock and arrange for a different way of working?
No, I think it's still the case, but since struggling to have their instruments used, I think that the fund that needs to be submitted by the state is being less complicated than in the past. So, but I think it's still the case. I will check for you, but it's still the same procedures.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Before we close, if there are no other questions, if you have anything to ask, just go ahead. Otherwise, I would pose the same questions that I posed to Audrey and Liliana in the previous webinar. Are the key messages that you would like participants to take away from this virtual meeting? What are the most important messages they should remember when thinking about partnership with the European Commission? Audrey first, and then Liliana.
Okay. Well, DC, I mean, they hold in the documents, the strategies, and so on. Everything is available. So this is a quite transparent partner, and I really invite you to get to know them better so that you can better understand what they're looking for. At the end of the day, frankly, in very little cases, they will say, oh, we love the ILO and we want to cooperate with the ILO because this is the ILO. Most of the time, they want to if the ILO can offer them support to their own strategic objectives. So it's really, I'm not trying to ask you to change your mentality or to change your mandate, not at all, but I think that it's important to speak their language, understand their mindset, so we can better sell our decent work agenda, so it corresponds both to our objective and their objective. And I think that with that in mind, they can be better convinced of the interest of working for the ILO. The second recommendation I will do is that if you have a project ID, start to speak with them before having to come and ask for the funds, because they don't like to be seen as the money co. They like to engage in a real dialogue, and they want to be part of the elaboration of proposal, have seen in the project program cycle. So it's important to have an open dialogue with them, let them know what the ILO can offer, invite them to events you may be organizing liaising even with other partners, with other member states, and when it's the time to ask for funds, they will be a little bit more interested in providing funds if this dialogue is taking place already. And the third recommendation would be to please get in touch with Liliana and I as soon as you have contacts with the EC, because we want to help, we want to be a support for you, and we want to make sure that you have the information at hand so that you can influence whenever possible the programming and the project better implement after. Thanks.
Thank you, Liliana. Any other messages you would like to add to this list?
The importance, as Audrey was saying, of maintaining this strong policy discussion with our EU delegation partners, and also the governments that can help influencing the role of the ILO within the program of the European Commission. And so, as Audrey was mentioning, yes, visibility, maintaining our visibility high within EU partners is a key aspect to continue fostering collaboration with them.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks both. Let me check once again if there is anything else for the participants that would like to add. It means it was all very clear. Yeah, Alessandra is saying in the chat that it was very much informative. Alessandra was also asking about the PowerPoint. As I mentioned before, please be reassured that the PowerPoint, together with the recorded webinar, will come with a link. We will send the link to the recorded webinar to all participants, and there you will find the PowerPoint. In addition, you can see the contacts, the email of Audrey and Liliana on the screen now, on the last slide, and also any material that can be relevant or related to this topic will be uploaded to the Development Cooperation Platform. So we invite you to go there and check for the resources that are hosted there. Yes, that's it, I guess. No further contribution. I would like just to thank a lot Liliana and Audrey for being with us 3 times today and for having gone through this very well done presentation, very clear. Thank you very much. I guess the participants will help you as you've asked. That's always very dangerous, but also very useful. Thank you very much for your availability. Thanks and goodbye to everyone. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. I'm going to close now. Thank you.